mobility for swimmers. We're going to start on our knees. So you're going to come onto all fours. Really make sure that the knees are underneath your hips. You don't want them too far back. Pull the back of the throat up, and we're going to pull the left knee into your chest, open it out to the side, and then back up. So imagine you're drawing a circle with your knee, but you don't want to move the lower back. We're really coming into some hip stretches here, but we're going to mobilize with strength. So keep going around in that same direction. And now we're going to switch direction. So you pull back, out to the left and to the front. So you're keeping the pelvis neutral, parallel to the ground, and you're really just moving in that hip joint. So that femur bone moving in that hip joint. We're going to do one more. And then you're going to step that left foot on the outside of your left hand. Keep the right hand down on the ground. Inhale that left arm up. Nice big opening here. Keeping the core tight. Exhale that left hand back down on the inside of the left foot. Now turn your left toes to the outside of the mat towards the left, and then lift that left arm again. Make sure that you're lifting up here in the shoulder, not sinking into the front, but pulling that shoulder blade back. You can release your right ear to your right shoulder here. Give a nice big stretch. Keep lifting. Opening up that hip. And then reach the left arm over your head. Reach it to the front of the mat. And you should feel a nice stretch all from that hip right up the left lateral side of your body. And releasing the left hand back down. You can release the left knee back down. Let's go on to the other side. So keeping that back of the throat lifted so the spine stays long, pull the right knee into your chest, open it out to the right, and then back. And again, you're doing those circles, drawing those circles with that right knee, just moving in the hip joint. And then we're going to go in the other direction. Keep that core tight. Just trying to get some movement here without the pelvis getting involved. That last one, you're going to step the right foot on the outside of the right hand, and then inhale, lift the right arm up. Reach up towards the ceiling, keep the core tight. And then bringing that right hand back down, turning the right toes open to the right. You're keeping your heel where it is. You're just opening up that hip, and then lift that right arm up again. You can release the left ear to the left shoulder, scoop the ribs in, really holding that core, and then reach that right arm over your head. Reach it forwards. Feel that stretch. Really nice release around the hips there. All that lateral side. And then releasing your right hand back down to the ground. Bring the right knee down to the ground. Now slide your left foot back. Keep the core tight. Lower back doesn't arch. And then swing the left foot out to the left and back again. Out to the left and back again. Again, just creating some movement around that hip, in the hip joint. You don't have to go as far. You could go further. Trying to keep the pelvis neutral. You can go at your own pace here. And then stay out towards the left. The left foot is more or less in line with the right knee. And then you can pull the hips back and forward. Pull the hips back and forward. The sole of your left foot is flat on the ground and your toes are facing forwards. And you're just shifting your hips forwards and backwards. Keeping that core tight. Just getting, again, some nice opening. And then you can release that left knee back down, and let's do the other side. Make sure your left knee is underneath your hips. Glide the right foot back, and then slide the right foot up to the right, and then back. Slide the right foot up and back. Just getting that action, keeping that core tight. Last one, you're going to keep it open. Sole of the right foot goes down onto the ground. Your toes are facing forwards. You're really flat on the ground. Toes are facing forwards, and you're pulling backwards and forwards. And you don't have to go very far here. You're really just trying to find that little bit of movement, the opening on the inner right thigh here, pulling around that pelvis in different ways. You're really mobilizing in all directions around that hip joint, around the pelvis. Just getting a really nice stretch with strength. Last one. And then you can come back into all fours. We're going to tuck our toes under, lift our hips up, hold the core straight. Now we're doing all of this, but a little bit higher. So left leg comes up, left knee bends. And again, draw those circles with that left knee. Choose one direction. Pelvis is staying neutral. You're moving the femur bone in that hip socket. So trying to release around the hip joint. And now you can go round in the other direction, circling the other way. So the reason we're keeping that pelvis neutral is that we want to be able to use and mobilize around the hip socket too, not just use the pelvis to get that opening. So really getting a nice stretch in those hips. Now step the left foot on the outside of the left hand. Pull the ribs up, anchor down in that right hand, lift the left arm up. Open the chest. Keep the ribs pulling in, core is tight. Left hand comes back down to the ground. Turn the left toes out to the left and then lift the left arm up. If you wanted, you could come onto the outside edge of that right leg too, really picking the ribs up, hips up, and then reach that left arm towards the front of the mat, over your ear. Keep the chest open, keep the ribs in. And then slowly come back to center as you step the left foot back, downward facing dog. Reach the right leg up, bend the right knee, and again we're circling. That right knee making big circles, not just low ones, really trying to lift the knee as well, but without arching that lower back. Then go in the opposite direction. And then that last one, you're going to step the right foot on the outside of the right hand, scoop the ribs up, don't let that left hip sink. Lift the right arm up to the ceiling. Keep the opening of the chest. Bring that right hand back down, open the right toes to the right, and then lift the right arm up. Maybe come onto the outside edge of that left foot. Reach that right arm overhead, picking the ribs up, the right ribs up, keeping that chest open, leaning back into that left scapula. And then coming back down, stepping the right foot back, downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet a little bit again here. And then bring the knees back down into all fours. Bring the knees together, the feet apart. You can tuck your toes under. We're just going to cat-cow a little bit here. Cat-cowing with the knees together and feet apart is going to pull around those hips a little bit differently than if you have them parallel. Adding a little bit of variety. And then just to finish off, we're going to walk back, so bring the knees back to parallel, come all the way down to the mat. You can bring your hands underneath your forehead, bring the left knee up towards the left, and we're going to take 5 big breaths here. In that little frog position on one side. Big inhales. Big exhales. So really just noticing that mobility can really help with those stretches. You don't have to hold the stretches for a long time. You want to get there with strength. One more big breath. Releasing that left leg. Bring the right knee up to the right. And just exhaling out here. this isn't accessible, you don't have to come as high. You could also bring a pillow underneath your pelvis to make it a little bit higher for you, to make it a little bit more accessible. It could be a bolster, it could be a cushion, it could be anything to rise you up a little bit. And then slowly release. Hands underneath your shoulders, and you can come back up. Come to find a comfortable seated position. I hope that felt great. Do that as much as you want to just release those hips a little bit. Namaste.